Hello and welcome. We are back at the Lego house in Billund, and we are about to go downstairs to the basement to have a look at the absolutely enormous history collection. So the history collection is the full history of the company from day one. Now it is that detailed. I have had to split this in over 6 different parts. Part number 7 is going to be no voice and just completely uncut and raw, which will allow you then just to pause it and sort of read absolutely everything, because there is so much to take in. Now, bearing in mind this is designed for that, but I have split it into 6 parts to add a little bit of a voiceover. I won't be reading back everything word for word, so obviously if you want to soak it all in on each individual part, just hit pause and obviously read it all for yourself. So in short, this is a old brick mould, which is what they buried underneath the brick house. What they had to do is, when the moulds then became sort of obsolete, they were taken to a factory and melted down so nobody would copy them. So this is the first thing that you see when you come in, and it's sort of like a glass, clear plexiglass floor where you can see all the amazing moulds underneath. Directly in front is a cinema area, and then you can see where we've just come back up the stairs. So we will be walking into the history collection now, and I will do my best to read the bits and pieces, but like I said, it might be worth you pausing and reading it all. And obviously part number 7, it will be completely uncut without me talking. So this is a river of stories. The Lego story is not one story, it is many stories. It is the story of a local small company that has quite accidentally stumbled upon the toy, and within 4 generations of owners created the world famous brand of its stories, Lego Brick, the ingenious building system and a zillion set designs. And then around all the wording we have all of the certifications, apprenticeships, birth certificates. So 1981 to 58, Kirk was a carpenter and a joiner, eventually a toy maker. He's a founder of the Lego Group. His main drive is quality and craftsmanship. He had a good sense of humour. And that is the apprenticeship certificate to the left hand side. And you can see there, it's just saying that you can spell his name with either CH or a K. But this is absolutely, it's just full. So for the next 6 parts, this is the history. It's the full history of the company. So we are 1930 to 1940 here. They were talking about the Great Depression above. It's incredible to think that back in the 1930s and sort of mid-25s, that when the Depression was on, he came up with the idea of the Lego company and how he could transform his carpentry business into making what started at the very beginning wooden toys, which is where you might have seen the wooden duck in the Lego house. And the first thing that we're about to pan down to is the wooden fire engine. So we're still a way off a little bit for the whole plastic injection molds, but everything around where I am and all the way around the bottom for all the parts is just lots and lots of pictures, and we do get to more and more models as well. So obviously when the Lego bits and pieces get introduced, you have all of that sort of stuff, and the vault is actually located within the middle of this area as well. That's available within a different video as well. So I spent a good amount of time trying to read and soak all of this in and film everything for you, and luckily managed to get round without bumping into anybody, which was absolutely perfect. But the big hit of 1932 was his wooden yo-yos. But the big problem with his wooden yo-yos is that he produced everything so well, nothing broke. So you can see the yo-yos just there, and if I pan up, it might say that he basically ended up having a full warehouse of yo-yos, because he had so many of them and they didn't break that people weren't needing to rebuy them. So his workmanship was just absolutely incredible back in the day. So only the best. Sounds a million machines, fills a workshop. His letters are carved into wooden plaques that read, "Only the best is good enough." It is the work of Gudrun Christensen, greatly inspired by his father, who always insists that children deserve nothing but the best. And that is the motto that has become into the Lego group on from back then all the way through to current day. They still try and keep that, well, they do keep that motto, and they do want to put the children first. So you can see this is the wooden duck that you can actually get within the Lego shop currently, and he goes on to make lots and lots of different wooden trains. So I would imagine some of this stuff you might not have ever seen before, and if you've got any of this stuff, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know what your earliest set is, and if it is a wooden set, because I think a lot of people think the oldest sets that they did was Lego based, not the actual wooden toys. So I don't know more myself, but it might have to add to the collection. Right, the fire. One late night in March 1942, a short circuit ignited a fire that burned the Lego workshop and warehouse to the ground. He briefly considered throwing in the towel, but the bad luck is not enough to halt him. Embracing his obligations to the city of Billund, the people working with him decided to build a new factory in 1943. So without the support of the local community and wanting him to rebuild the factory, he would have thrown in the towel well before he even came up with the Lego brick concept itself. And you can just see all the pictures of the fire, and it just literally burnt it straight to the ground. There was nothing left, and obviously it was with the wooden toys that were in there as well. They would have caught fire very, very quickly, and it would have just gone up and gone. So underneath you can see the other wooden toys that they do. If there's anything that you can remember back when, or if you can remember any of your parents or grandparents having of those, please let me know. And it goes on to speak about the family company and just a devastating sight, and you can just see everything that is just not there anymore. It's what's that? Photos taken from 1943. That one. And then we start over. So he reconstructs a duck after the 1942 fire destroys all the model Lego toys. So this is the rebirth. So we've already saw the fire engine, and then this is a little video where it just shows you him and the team producing all the bits and pieces that goes into making the duck. And as you can imagine, the craftsmanship is extremely strong, and he just had a massive passion and drive to make everything better than everything else. So you can just tell that everything that was built back in the day was just meant to last. It was meant to be played with, it was meant to be enjoyed, and I think that has really built the foundation to what the Lego group has become, with just how long the bricks survive after constant building and use as well. So the basement and the foundations of the company definitely haven't changed, and it's sort of where they thrive. But we are back to the wooden toys in the 1940s and the early 50s, and we are reading and talking about hangers for children's clothes between 1939 and 1951. And there we have them. So they really did make as much as possible out of wood, and then that really got the ball going. So we're going to a modern factory. In 1943, the company opens a brand new modern factory facility for 40 employees. It allows them to produce and have higher quality craftsmanship of children's toys. And we go back down to an arrow, which is where I've just come up from the 1940s. And going through, we're going to farmyard animals is also what gets represented in the 1940s, and this is where I went up, and now I'm just going to go across. So this is dated to the 1940s, because like I said, it's a lot. If I was to take a massive step back, you would just see the scale and just the volume of models that are on display in the cabinets, and it goes from ceiling to kneeling. You literally have to sit on the floor if you want to see the stuff that is underneath some bits and pieces. So we're back into the fire trucks which is where we started on. Now we're getting into the automatic binding brick. From the late 40s, more and more plastic toys were produced at the factory in Billund. Among these are the boxes of automated binding bricks, small plastic bricks in different sizes made for stacking, building structures, and the bricks themselves strongly represent today's basic Lego bricks. The dimensions are identical to the studs on top. And then we go into the injection moulding machine, which I do believe is just on the right hand side. And we always hear above a lot of the boards it has all different quotes, but this is the first brick binding machine, which is a much smaller scale of what we saw at the end of the tour of the Lego moulding machine, where it was just spitting out hundreds and hundreds of bricks. So it's a bit different within scale, but it's still, I suppose it did the same job. One was manual and now one is automatic. So here we have it. So we have the first artwork for the Lego plastic brick, and used on the box is one of the family members' sons. So this is the basic design, and they still carried on with all the wooden models as well. And experiments in plastic. The Lego company experimented with new materials. Among these, plastic leaving the factory are baby rattles, amongst other things. And then we are into the 1950s and 1960s. The baby boom arrives alongside the important change that the Lego Group in 1950 became a junior manager and directing company on his 30th birthday. By 1957, appointed directing manager. So he was torpedoing through the company. So we're 3 generations. On his 30th birthday, appointed junior manager and director of the Lego Group. And there he is. So all of these people had unbelievable key roles into the foundation of what we are now collecting currently and what you could collect back then. But you can just see it is enormous, and we've only done one teeny tiny wall. And now we are back at what I think is a lathe, a very big, I think that's what that is. I'm just sort of looking and squinting at the same time as you, but I think that's he was producing more wooden materials than that, because just below you do have all of these wooden bits and pieces. So again, if you've seen any of these before, or if you have any of these, please let me know. But the bit that we're about to come up to next is the Ferguson tractor. Now, it was an amazing success. It was 100,000 units sold, if I do remember rightly. So it goes on. Best-selling plastic product from the Lego Group in the early 1950s. The tractor between 51 and 54 sold 100,000 units, and it's linked to the new tractors that appeared in the Danish landscape after the war. And we go on to see these brilliant models. Now, what does make this very interesting is that they did produce 2 types of tractor, and we will go over those in part number 2, because part number 1 is now coming to an end. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching. As always, hope to catch you in the next one. Take care. Ta-da.